Do you know that the paperwork and the fundamentals of handling the paperwork are what makes our office as efficient as it is? And that means that it isn't just papers being passed back and forth. It's papers being passed back and forth with a system and with purpose.
Yes.
We talk about written communication, how important it is. Well, there can be haphazard written communication. There can be directed written communication. We're going to give you some examples tonight of directed written communication and how that works and why it works so well. And by the time you're done, you'll be able to implement at least some of these systems in your office. So I'm going to take it away to the star of the show, Daniel Joyner.
So last week we talked about GSWs, which is the completed staff work. That is where we had communications going for requests for vacations, requests for time off, requests for hours off, leaving early, coming in early, or things that you need in your area, new technology, new computer, new scrubs, whatever it is. They were that request form. And as we said last week, it was in a way that they could ask where they're not just asking, they're having a solution. They're providing you information so that you can see a reason for doing it, or it doesn't cause a problem in the office by doing what it is that the staff is asking. We did have those on the webinar. If you need those, let us know. We can email those to you, but hopefully you guys have those implemented in. The written communication. Hopefully there's a lot of you watching tonight that put that written communication in, that you guys have those end out and pending boxes. So with the end out and pending boxes, with the written communication, and with those request forms, the next part comes the organizational board. So we're going to show you what our organizational board looks like. But basically, this is a board that has every department, every responsibility in the practice, and it assigns one person, a person, to that area. Not a team of people, not a group of people, because when someone tells me, oh, we all do it, we all work together to do it, that doesn't work well. Then you have finger pointing. Well, she was last. I do it all the time. It's her turn to do it. No matter how it begins, that's how it's going to end. So we don't do that. So with our board, as you can see, we list every single department, every single responsibility, one person with the IC next to their name or just a single name. They're in charge of that area. So let me kind of explain the in charge of an area. It doesn't mean that they're the person that does it. It doesn't mean that they're the only person that does it. It means that they're making sure that that area is taken care of, policies are in place, that area is always being watched to be improved. It doesn't stay the same. It gets better and it gets better and it gets better. So when you're having your staff meetings, when you're looking at ways to improve the practice, with this in place, you'll find that already so many things in the practice are constantly being improved because you have that one person in the area that's responsible for it that is going to be asked, how is your department? How are your areas of responsibility? And they want their area to shine. They don't want problems coming from their areas. So this is a way that you can have every area in your practice watched over, policy in place, somebody constantly improving it, and they're not asking you or other people in the practice for something. They'll look at this organizational board, they'll say, oh, who's in charge of patient education because, I need to get these pre-op forms updated or changed. They're not correct. They don't look that good. They're missing some information. I'm not going to go to Danielle and talk about it. I'm not going to go to Jennifer and talk about it. I'm not going to go to Shell and talk to it. I'm going to go to Laura and talk to it.
Yeah, where are people going to go? They're going to go to you first. You're in charge of the organization. Right. And I'm talking about you doctors. They're going to go first. I mean, it's very easy. Anybody can go to you. Well, how many times do you want people going to you when in fact there are lower level people in your office who should be handling or should be in charge of all of those things? That's what the organizing board does. This is a Hubbard management tool, by the way. So, and it's developed in a logical sequence. And I talked about this a little bit last time, where there's Division 7, which is the executive division, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as we go through this, you'll see how things flow from Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, Division 4, Division 5, Division 6. And then, of course, that's going horizontally. And then as you go vertically, you see all the individual responsibilities. Does it take a while to set up? Yeah, it might. But, and we got a template from the management company that we were working with years ago, and we've redeveloped the template. But that's because, number one, our practice expanded as much as it did, and number two, because as things change, there are different responsibilities, new things going on in the office. And so as long as we can put that in the logical position and we assign a person to be in charge, good, somebody's in charge. Doesn't mean somebody can't help that person out being in charge, but that person has the responsibility.
Right, and that's what happens with this a lot. Laura can ask other people to help her. Laura can say, listen, the rule of this area is if you pull the last one, you filled up that bin of the pre-op forms, whatever it is. She can create a way that area works the best. She's in charge of that area. And of course, if she's changing policies, she has to give a CSW to me to change the policy, but she runs that area. But this org board is placed right next to the communication bin center. So that way, when people are writing the notes and needing something, they can look on that board, see who's in charge of it, put the note to that person and go to that person. What I've seen happen when this is not in place is you'll see on here the dental equipment. Something happens with the dental equipment. Someone's with a patient in the room and the equipment is not working. Okay, so now they're frantic. Oh, my equipment is not working. They walk out of the room. They ask the first person they come to, hey, my machine thing is not working in there. Do you know what I can do? No, I don't know. Well, who knows? I don't know. I think Amanda does. Okay, so she goes and finds Amanda. Amanda, my thing's not working in my room. How do I do it? Oh, I don't know. I guess I could try to help you. They're both in there fumbling around trying to find it. They don't know what to do.
Now, how many people are involved in this conversation?
Yes, and now it's time. Right. We have patients. And then they have somebody else. Hey, what are you guys doing? We're trying to fix this. Okay, well, let me see if I can help you. 3 people, 15 minutes. Patients are waiting. Instead, go to the board. Laura's in charge. Laura, can you come help me for a second? Done. It's finished. Give her a note. Hey, when you're done, the equipment in room 6, it's not working very well. Can you come take a look at it and get it fixed? It's done. Less people involved. It saves you time. It's more efficient. So it just kind of streamlines everything. So it's organized. You don't have chaos all over the place, people running all over the place, and people being bothered, which is the biggest thing I see. Okay, you're working with a lot of girls most of the time. They get on each other's nerves. They get mad. Now they're not thinking about your patient care, standards, acceptance. They're thinking about that girl that made them mad, who keeps asking them for help. This does also bring peace to the practice as well. During our staff meetings, we always hear people are asking for changes and the way things are operating, trying to prevent errors from happening. Last week we had this happening, it caused this, what we need is this. It's the people in charge of the area. Those are the ones that are speaking up and saying that because they want to improve that area and they want to bring some better things in that particular department. So if you would like one of these, do we email this to them or they can't find it?
No, we'll email this to you.
Right.
Just ask us, or when I send out the recordings, I'll just email this to you as well.
Right.
So you'll see that. As we go across that, you'll see Division 7 is the executive director. Okay, and that's me, and Eleanor's the deputy executive director. And so this is all the executive position. Now, why we put cleaning and vacuuming in there, I have no idea, but we decided that worked.
Here's the reason why.
Why do we do that?
Same thing. If I walk
I'm in charge of vacuuming. Am I in charge of vacuuming? No.
No, if I walk in and I see stuff all over the floor, who am I going to ask? Everybody in the practice until they tell me that Rebecca's the one that vacuums?
Right.
I can go right to Rebecca.
Why is Rebecca under me as executive? Well, we'll talk about that. It could be any place. But anyway, we put that. It's all right. We know that Rebecca's in charge.
He's critiquing my org board as we're doing the webinar.
Holy mackerel. This is from 2014. Maybe Rebecca moved over here. Okay, so when we go to Division 1, Division 1 is the basic structure of the office. It's called the Communications Division, but it's really desks and chairs and legal and the fundamentals of the office. And you can see Division 1 is divided up into 3 departments: personnel, communications, and inspections and reports. And don't you think that Danielle spends a lot of time on inspections and reports? She gets reports from every staff member every single week. Right. Staff member will write out. Are we showing that tonight? Or no? Okay. Yep. So you'll see that's Division 1. Division 2 is essentially examinations. Patients come in and now we're examining and then we're getting treatment acceptance. And then division 3 is treasury. So we get income and we get disbursements. So once they're examined, they pay for treatment before they get treatment done. I hope that's the way you're doing it, by the way. I hope you're not doing treatment and then asking for money. You get into trouble that way. Okay, and then we go to division 4. Division 4 is actually the technical division, which would include whatever we're doing here, which would include surgery, it would include hygiene, it would include x-rays, appliance lab, all of these things. And then we go to division 5. Division 5 is essentially the quality control division. So before the patient leaves, I'm doing the examination and making sure that the patient got what he or she paid for and that we like it and the patient likes it. And then finally is the public division. That's the division where it includes your reception room, but it really includes all the marketing and advertising that you're doing in order to bring a patient in. So that's how it's logically divided. As you look at this, you look at it in more detail, you'll be able to see how this is organized. Now at the bottom, there's a valuable final product for each division. Okay, so if we're looking at division 6, which is the public division, a practice that is well known and well thought of. If we're looking at division 4, patients treated efficiently with the best treatment that we can provide. So it's doing something, and then here's our expectations. This is what we're doing. If we fall short of that, we better not, but if we fall short of that, then we find out in what part of this particular division are we falling short of it? You know, is it falling short here? Are the instruments not coming out sterilized, or we're losing the instruments? What is it that's reducing our efficiency? Okay, now who's in charge of that? Well, Kate was in charge of that. So now we go back to Kate. Hey, what's going on? So, well, the sterilizer hasn't worked in 3 weeks, something like that. And then we find out how this thing is remedied. So by organizing, using the organizing board, you can develop your flow line. You can determine each of the individual duties and in the office first, and then who fits into those individual duties, and finally who's in charge of that. And then, you know, you've got a staff member or staff members who are taking full responsibility for the office. And that way I don't have to do anything, which is the whole idea. Patient care is what I do, right, and let everybody else handle what they do. And that doesn't mean Danielle handles everybody either. You know, essentially there are people that are below Danielle and what ends up being what, a 21, 22, 23 person office or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, Danielle is involved enough in all 23 of us, but you know, there are sub-levels so that it can be self-correcting without always rising to the top. And that's the whole idea. If it's happening down here, we want it handled down here. It shouldn't have to go up here and involve us. We're involved with patient care. That's what we should be doing. Right. And it works. It really works. I'm not, you know,
it does.
This is not.
Yep. That's why we're bragging about it. Yeah. It works wonders for us. It makes everything fall into place. It makes everything function and go with less errors. So highly recommend that you guys put together your own organizational board. If you would like some help with us with this, let me know. I'll be more than happy.
Organizing board. It's called organizing.
I would love to help you with
Org board. Organizing.
I will help you. So anyways, moving on.
I gotta call it what's officially called. Danielle has her own imagination. All right, where are we moving on to?
So the next thing that we do as far as communication goes and to streamline communication is to use check sheets. Now with checklists, I knew he was gonna correct me. Checklist. That's why you're here, to make sure that they know what the real words are.
Would you like me to do checking cases in and out? You want me to do manager checklist? What would you like to do?
You can go
opening the office. Checklist.
So as the manager of the practice, I make sure everything stays within our standards and within our policy. I also make sure that the tone stays high. Why? So we can all work together effectively, efficiently, get things done, attract the patient to want to be a part of our office, and to bring the tone up for the patient so that they're ready to accept treatment.
And to keep me in line.
And to keep them in line all day long. This is what I do. So with these checklists, it's not to micromanage. It's for accountability.
That's the whole thing. It's not micromanaging. A person is managing him or herself. Sorry to interrupt you. You're on a roll.
So it's all for accountability, because we do have, but even when we had 5 people working here, 10 people working here, but we do have over 20 people working here, this is so that I know things are getting done, and they know that I'm checking to make sure things are getting done, because people will skip corners. If they can find a good reason and convince themselves that their way is okay or better, they're going to do it that way. Not because they want to hurt you or your practice, because they think really it's going to be okay. these are to make sure the standards stay in, the policies stay in, the patient's getting what they should be getting, and everything is running the way that we want it to run. So we have a checklist for everything in the office. We have one to open the office, as you see here, because if you don't have one, things get forgotten. I've been here for over 15 years. If I have to come and open the office, my mind is on patients where I'm running behind. I got to meet with Dr. Sheldon when he comes in. I'm going to forget something on here because I'm trying to get so much stuff done. This isn't the only thing I have to do all day. There's lots of things I have to do. So it makes me remember, oh gosh, yes, that I got to get it done as well. So it helps you to do things faster because you're not thinking about it so much. It's right there in front of you. You're checking it off. You're getting it done. You know for a fact it's done. So you're not worrying, did I do that? Did I get it done? You know you got it done. So we have one to open the office. We have a checklist to set up every surgery that we do in this practice. We have a checklist that shows how to answer the phone. We have a checklist that shows how to check in a patient, check out a patient, to put patients into follow-ups, how to do a financial with a patient, how to close an office. Everything is in there, and the people in that department that's doing it, they are filling this out for somebody above them. So Courtney's in charge of our clinical. She's in charge of all of our surgeries. She's back there working with patients with them. The surgery staff are filling out the how to set up the extractions, the sinus lift, whatever it is they're doing, they're checking it off of it, and they're just putting it into a bin so she knows if there was a problem with that surgery, why? Let me look at that check sheet and see what happened. So it is accountability, and it makes staff do what they know they're supposed to do to stay within that standard. So with those, I highly recommend them because that way you know for a fact things are getting done. So we do have those for every aspect. For the financials, we don't, those check sheets actually turn into surgical prep sheets, meaning as soon as a new patient comes into the office and we're going through their paperwork, make sure they have consents, assigned to financial, that they're paying, that we have an updated medical history, that we have size picked out for the implants, that we have material set aside, that as it gets checked off, makes it to Courtney, the supervisor in the back, and she then pulls that for when the patient's coming in the next day to make sure we are ready for that patient. We have a denture here. We have a flipper here. All those things are ready in there to make sure that patient's coming in and they're going to get exactly what we promised them. So with those check sheets, checklist, those we do recommend that you do have into place. So we do have some of those on there. I can send you an example, whichever you guys would like. But we do update those. The people that make these and update these are the ones that are in charge of that department. As you saw, going back to the organizational board. You can go to checking in cases in. So to check cases in for surgeries when we're getting ready, Hannah does that. So she just makes sure that she completes this for her cases all day long. It's one check sheet for all day long. So she will go through this to make sure everything is done correctly. The one that I find most important to me, because it's in my responsibility area, is the one from the managers. So the managers have to send, can you go to the one that says managers? Yeah. They have to give me these at the end of the week. At the end of the week, the supervisors for every department have to give me a report on their department and give me a checklist from the department to make sure that things are getting done. So they make sure that they get stats from their team. They make sure they get stuff from their team, and they're turning it into me so I can make sure that when I talk with Dr. Sheldon, things are getting done, things are happening, and I can give him what those statistics are. Instead of me having to micromanage and oversee every department, I'm just getting this from them at the end of every single week. So I go into my Monday, when I meet with him on Monday morning, with a report and a checklist from every manager, every supervisor in the area. I have this, I have everything in front of me. So when he asks me questions, I can give him reasons why. So very important. Again, I can help you with that. If you do have supervisors, you have leads, you have managers, I can help you design who gets what and how to do, because I know it just seems like a lot, but once you get down as the manager or the doctor, what you want from every individual in your practice, every department, this is easy. And then as you change things, as you improve things, update the form.
Good.
Which brings me to the manuals, the hats.
Oh, We're done with this program.
Yeah. So though all of those checklists that we were showing, there's lots of them. And when you put them all together, you end up with a manual, kind of like this. It's a manual. It's a binder manual. And these are what we call hats. And inside these, you'll find a table of contents. And the table of contents will go over every single area. This is the clinical. Let's see if I can find it. Okay. So this is the clinical here. And this is for the clinical department to pull this, to set up surgeries, to do post-operative checks, quick checks, new patients, whatever. Because let's just imagine that somebody on your clinical team is sick and they're not coming in, and you're short. You only have one other assistant, and you have 3 columns. Who's going to take the spot of that assistant? You're either going to reschedule patients, or you're going to have somebody else take over their spot for the day. If you have this in place, anybody could fill their spot for a day or 2 days or however it is. So within this, it goes over how to open the day, how to do the morning duties, how to set up for surgeries, how to clean the machines, how to run sterilization, how to do a post-operative check, how to do impressions, pour up, how to trim impressions, make different appliances, how to how to see an emergency appointment, how to use our x-ray machines, how to use our software. Everything that you could think of that these girls do in the clinical department is in here. They can turn to the page number, and then the page number will have 2 things: a how-to explain, seat the patient, do this, do that, go over this, go over that, go get the doctor, do this, do that. It also has a checklist, how to set up for that particular procedure, or how to do whatever it is in there so that you can go along the checklist and do it correctly. So it's a how-to. This is what we call a hat, a training manual, a how-to manual. It works in so many different ways. We use this when we have new hires to train them. We do this when somebody has to help us in a department that they don't usually work in. I use this a lot because I'm not always on the schedule, but if we have somebody that has just walked in, it's an emergency, we have somebody that's taking longer in a new patient examination and a post-operative check waiting, I have to go get them. But I can look at this and remember, oh yeah, that's what we need for that. So that when Dr. Sheldon comes in, we have everything out there that we need. And I'm not running around trying to find things. I'm not skipping through things. I'm not missing things. I'm making sure that I'm doing what it is that our standards of the practice does require me to do. All in here. And we update these twice a year. We update them in December and we update them in July. And who updates these? The ones responsible for those areas are doing that. So we have been, since I've been here for over 15 years, we have been doing this. And it's something that everybody depends on. It's something that everybody loves doing. Again, it's quite a project to get started on. But when I work with different practices and they want to learn how to do this, the very first thing that I tell them to do is everybody sit together and they write down everything they do all day long. So what do you do all day long? Okay, well, I set up the office when I come in. I set up the surgeries. I then make sure the sterilization is caught up with. I then check in cases. I then check on the surgeries, and I'm a runner for the surgeries to make sure they have all their equipment. I again make sure that the sterilization is being turned over and everything is going well. I open up boxes from orders and I stock, all this stuff. So she's writing down all the stuff she does all day long. Once she writes down everything she does all day long, then she can start making a hat. So she can do a section for each one of those, because if Hannah, which the jobs I just explained, is not here one day, who's going to do it? Somebody has to do it. But if she has her how-to for her day, for her department, for her entire post, anybody could take over that for a day. So as she takes on responsibilities, she makes a new section or updates a section. As she moves on and gets promoted, she gives it to somebody else. And she wants to make sure that her section of that hat is legible, is clear, is easy to follow, because that is something that we all depend on here. So also with these hats, if it's something that you don't have, that you like the way it sounds because things just don't usually run efficiently in your practice, let me know and I can help. I can show you examples of what we do, and I can help you also design a hat as well. Any comments on the hats?
I think the hats are essential. All of this paperwork is essential. If you're trying to look for management or for a management consultant, what a management consultant does. This is the fundamentals of what a management consultant does. is to put organization into your office. It's not a gung-ho type of thing. It isn't. That's not what it is. Real management is essentially taking the individual duties and putting them into a logical sequence so that people understand what they're doing. And that makes staff happier because they know what they are responsible for and they know what they're not responsible for. At least, I mean, technically we're all responsible for everything, but in terms of what we're in charge of, it really defines it very well. And then when you have a new staff member, you're asking another staff member to train the new staff member. How much better is it having a manual there, where the staff member can look at the manual? Now, will the manual tell the staff member everything? Yeah, it really will. I mean, you can supplement the manual, and we can supplement it with photographs and things like that. And yes, it does require some OJT. But can you imagine having a staff member studying page 2 through 10 of the manual and then apply it the next day? It makes things go very well. So that when Danielle's training a new person, it isn't assigning that person to somebody else. It's essentially assigning the manuals and the books that we have in our office for that staff member to read, for that staff member to be checked out on, because there are some tests that are done, and to make sure that the person is progressing the way we want that person to progress. Some people make it, some people don't. But the people who do make it are really grateful they have a way of making it.
Right.
That it isn't just depending about somebody else who, by the way, may not be trained the way you want the person trained. So if the standards are there and they're written and a person knows what those standards are, and we're updating those standards on a regular basis, those standards keep on going up and up and up. And new people coming in know that the standards are coming up and up and up. And that attracts a certain type of employee or staff member to the office. We don't have to advertise that hard to get somebody in here. We don't have to advertise that hard to get somebody who's qualified to be in here. They want to be here because of this kind of organization. Put this kind of organization in, you can have that kind of staff too. You may already have that staff already. It's just a matter of elevating it, just elevating it. And that impresses the staff member, and frankly, the patients see it as well. I've never seen an office so organized. When you have everything organized, you have time to be friendly, so you don't, because you're not frantically thinking about a lot of things. It's all written down on this piece of paper here. And so that is how an office will work, and that's why an office becomes more productive, becomes friendlier, it becomes the go-to office in your community. And isn't that something all of us want?
Also, if you think that this thing is pretty intimidating and your staff is going to hate you when you say, hey, good news, we're going to make one of these. The front desk one is much thinner. It makes it easier. But the staff that I have here and the staff that I work with outside here, other periodontal offices, the staff love these. And I get more emails of the staff saying, thank you for your help on that. We love it. It's the Bible of the practice that they call it. Because when you have staff that has to show somebody how to do something or train somebody how to do something, they hate that. They don't hate this. They hate having to train. It takes so much more of their time. It takes them away from their work to have to train. It's so much easier for them to go, hey, here's the hat. It's in here. Look it up and go, do the x-rays or whatever it is, because it is step by step, and they make sure that it's that easy. And usually when the girls are making these checklists and these hats, they'll come to me and say, hey, will you do this for me? Just check it out, read it, and go through the steps and tell me if it's good. And I'll go try it out. I'll go through the steps. If something's missing, I'll say, I was a little confused on step 4. I don't really understand what you're asking about. They take screenshots, pictures, add them in there. That's great. They take pictures of surgical setups so you can see it all in there. They really go out of the way to make this easier because it makes their job easier when they're showing somebody, when they're training somebody. It really makes their job easier to say, hey, here it is. It's in there. Go look it up and go do it. And instead of going, hey, Courtney, will you help me with something? Hey, Courtney, where do I find this? Hey, Courtney, how do you do this? Hey, Courtney, how do you turn that on? None of that happens because you have this in place. So once you get it in place and I can help you guys do it, I can talk with your staff. I can get them excited about it. It works. It's great. And they'll love it.
Good. We'll be back again on June 6th. And this is going to be the wrap up of this year. We're going to talk about where this all fits in and how we're overall looking for our practices, all of our practices to be there. So you can all be directors of dentistry. So June 6th here on the webinar, June 8th and 9th in Chicago, June 22nd and 23rd in Saddlebrook, New Jersey.
That's it. Yep.